Fred Hollister.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and city staff. My name is Fred Hollister with Herb's Glass here in Elgin. I'm here this evening to voice my opinion as a long-term business owner here in Elgin that I do not approve of any part of the Elgin business license. It's wrong for the city to continue to target the business community as a way to gather revenue. Taking our money and giving it to the Chamber of Commerce was a terrible idea. If I had wanted to join the Chamber of Commerce, I would have joined it. If the Chamber cannot support itself, it should be no different than any other organization and be allowed to reinvent themselves or to fail as allowed by free market economics. But I'm not here to pick on the Chamber. I'm most upset that the city has chosen to single out the business community as being some sort of piggy bank that's flush with cash that the city can draw upon whenever they wish. As businesses, we are all struggling. When you tax us, we pass these added costs on to our customers. Every time you add another tax or fee on my business, you make me less competitive. When my costs of operation get to be so high, I cannot compete against other companies that are located right outside of Elgin that don't have to pay these taxes and fees. I'm sincere when I say that times are tough and that your added taxes can endanger my business. Many Elgin businesses have failed or moved since this recession started. Personally, I am tired of the new additional expenses mandated on us by all levels of government. I urge you to repeal the business license immediately, and for the sake of the entire Elgin business community, not look at businesses as the goose that can lay golden eggs. That goose is nearly cooked already. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mark Ahrens.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd like to address the issue of the Elgin Business License Ordinance from the standpoint of not-for-profit organizations. By that I mean schools, churches, associations in the city. This ordinance requires that I, as a pastor, every not-for-profit organization must apply to be licensed in this city. Section 6.04 in this ordinance points out that if for some reason my church does not satisfy the regulations of the city or some state law, the ordinance can revoke my license, and I would not have the ability to have a church in Elgin. I think the proper relationship between not-for-profit organizations and the city has been like what we've had for years, where we work hand in hand together to help all the people in our community have a better standard of living. I think that the non-for-profit organizations in our city would have the same kind of feelings toward this ordinance that you find happening nationwide. If you take Rasmussen, Zogby, ABC, Time Magazine, all those groups that poll the feelings of the voters, they ask the people, do you feel that our country is going in the right direction? And 3 out of 4 of them right now say, no, the U.S. government is not leading our nation in the right direction. And I think this kind of ordinance that puts these kind of regulations on not-for-profit organizations, it's similar. It has the same tone as those surveys. I would like to leave you with this little story. I love the Civil War. At Gettysburg, you have General Lee ordering Sam Hood, a general from Texas, to march across the field and go up the little round top and take that left flank of the Union and push them off the field. General Hood says, half of my division is going to be killed before we even get to that mountain. General Lee tells him, take that mountain. General Hood responds this way: Sir, I will carry out your orders, but I do them under protest. Your not-for-profit organizations in Elgin, like myself, I filled out the paperwork, I complied, I sent it in, and I got licensed. But I must tell you, I did it with very serious reservations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kevin Bunty. Kevin Bunty.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin Bunty. I'm with Bunty Auction Services here in Elgin on the northwest side, and I'm here to voice my opposition to and ask for the repeal of the Elgin business license fee. Business has been tough, as you know, for the last few years for all of us. 2 years ago, we had to reduce employees' hours by 20%. When that didn't work, we had to lay off about 7 of our employees out of 14, cut them down to 50%. Just to hold our heads above water. Many of the businesses in Elgin are much smaller than ours and have a much tougher time paying these fees that are being charged. The cost of the business license won't shut us down, but the problem with it is it's just one more hand in our pocket. We have the original Elgin business license, state license, city license of all towns outside of Elgin that we might sell in, real estate taxes, unemployment tax, as well as many others. Especially with the economic downturn that we've had, the city should not be raising taxes, fees, or whatever you want to call it. In my area, there are 3 industrial parks, ours on the northwest side of 3190, one on the southwest side, and one on the northeast side. Driving through these last week with just a quick count, I found well over 1 million square feet of property looking to be leased or sold in just those 3 areas. We should be trying to figure out ways to attract businesses instead of nickel and diming them. I understand the money will be forwarded to the Elgin Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Business Association. These are both fine organizations, and I have nothing against them. But like the gentleman from Herb's, if I wanted to join them, I would have paid then. I hear another option discussed was to use the money to help with the supposed illegal immigration problem as far as being hired by businesses. Not saying whether that's wrong or right. If you really want to do something in regard to that, raise the money by finding the businesses, not the rest of us. In conclusion, if you won't repeal the license, I am a member of the Turner's Club, and I would like to nominate them to join the Elgin Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Business to get my portion of the fee anyway.
Thank you. Ruth Elders. Ruth Elders. Last time, Ruth Elders. I believe it's Jaime Bertoncini. Jamie. Thank you. Sorry.
My name is Jamie Bertoncini, not Jaime. My sister and I are second-generation business owners of a company that was started here in Elgin in 1985. We are A1 Cab Dispatch and a Taxi Cab Leasing Corporation. Elgin's business license is unfair and not needed. You are crushing us with the taxes and fees that small business pay, especially with the worst economy in decades. There are closed-up family businesses all over town and so many buildings vacant. If Elgin wants to be business-friendly, you are not going about it in the right way. There are no incentives for a small business in Elgin right now. Only If you're a major corporation within the city, will your voice be heard? The City of Elgin's business license fee you passed will become a financial burden to us small businesses in the years to come. The fees always start small, and then it will keep rising over the years. And a perfect example would be the taxi licenses. A mere 3 years ago, they were $25 a taxi. Now they are $75 per car. That is triple the amount in 3 years. We have been paying a business license fee to the City of Elgin, which includes the actual business license, for 26 years, and our current bill is for $1,725. Please don't forget that each vehicle working within your city also has to pay a $30 vehicle inspection fee, and each taxi driver also has to pay $30 for each of their driver's permits yearly. These are all yearly expenses. So on the low end, the city is making our corporations pay at least $5,000 a year in licenses. Now you want more. There are 122 licensed taxis within the city. And what do you give us for our money? We have one taxi stand that holds 3 cars. The city doesn't care what is unfair. How many different government fees can us businesses take? I speak for a lot of businesses on the Elgin southeast section of the city. Your license is based on square footage, and I find that to be ridiculous considering we pay exorbitant taxes due to our square footage in Cook County. In 30 years, my property tax bill has gone from $3,000 a year to currently $34,000 a year. Now we are a part of a non-business friendly ARC district, which is ARC, and none of us business owners had any say in that. We can't even sell our properties to get out because the city doesn't accept 90% of the businesses on the ARC. There have been city council members stating that the business license is good, so the city knows who is doing business here. Then please explain to me how 2 different city offices are getting paid for the same thing. The occupancy permit that everyone has to buy, and now the business license based on square footage. I think it's redundant. Small businesses don't have the luxury to have any type of shortfall in budget. We just go entirely out of business. Who is here to help us? When we have problems with the city, no one wants to answer questions or emails. We get brushed off. We have no unbiased advocate or liaison within the city to help us with issues. Many business owners don't want to kick the beehive and stand up to say no to stop the business license because they've heard what the city code department has done to us and others over the years and cannot afford the problems that will come from the code department. That is sad. All of you up there make these decisions, and it's easy enough to cast a mere vote, but it's us businesses that have to live with them forever. You will never be taken, it will never be taken away down the road unless we act now, and we're asking us businesses in Elgin to repeal the license.
Thank you. Jeffrey Meyer.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, city staff. I'm Jeffrey Meyer, speaking tonight on behalf of the Elgin Octave. As you're aware, over the past several months, Octave has been working to make the case to you on repealing the Elgin business license. We're here today joined by residents and members of the Elgin business community who I hope will stand in a show of support to make clear once and for all that you should act immediately to repeal the Elgin business license. I'm an attorney by trade, and so I'm going to treat this kind of as our closing argument on the issue. There's been some various claims that misinformation is being spread about the Elgin business license and that, save the Octave's core members, there's truly very little opposition to the Elgin business license, so let's try to set the facts straight. There's no better place to go for facts than the primary sources. So let's start with the ordinance itself. The Elgin Business Ordinance applies, quote, to all persons who conduct, engage in, maintain, operate, carry on, or manage a business, end quote, in the city of Elgin. That comes from section 6.04.020 of the code. Contrary to the claims of some, there are no exceptions to who must obtain this business license. In fact, the code defines, quote, person as, quote, any individual, firm, association, partnership, corporation, trust, or any other legal entity. That's section 6.04.010. The only exceptions in the business license ordinance are for waiver of registration fees in the case of 501c3 organizations, downtown businesses until 2013, and reduction in the fee amount for residential occupations as they're defined in the zoning ordinance, but then it's only if that's the second fee that they have to pay because they have a location elsewhere. At least that's kind of the way the ambiguous language in that section of the code reads. This is section 6.04.060B and section 6.04.1503. The failure of any person to obtain an Elgin business license is punishable by a fine of not less than $50, no more than $750 per day. You have to look to two code sections to come up with that. First, 6.04.130A and B, which refers you over to section 1.20.020 of the code, which talks about enforcement of the village, or pardon me, the city's ordinances generally. Let's now talk about some of the facts regarding enforcement. On September 17, 2011, Mr. Kozel gave an interview to Boca Jump acknowledging that the city did send out a letter in August to businesses, and it quoted him as saying, and I begin, quote, "The failure to register under the business license ordinance could result in their business being closed and could subject them to daily fines." And also, quote, "It doesn't say it will happen, just it could is a provision of the ordinance," end quote. Now, the truth, however, is that the letter said, and I quote from the letter, "Should your business fail to file a general business license application," advancing slightly through a sentence, "your business will be required to cease operations." Clearly, it is not the Elgin Octave that's spreading misinformation concerning the Elgin business license. You don't have to take my word for any of this. I have the original documents here, and I'll be happy to share them with the council. You can read the ordinance, you can read the Boca Jump article, you can read a copy of a letter that was sent out to an Elgin business. Let's talk about some of the facts about what the Elgin business license funds. The Elgin business license is supposed to fund two purchase of service agreements, one with the Chamber of Commerce, and the other with the Downtown Neighborhood Association, both for the provision of economic development services. In 2011, the Chamber, under its purchase of service agreement, is to get $100,000 per quarter, and the DNA, under its PSA, is to get $33,750 per quarter. This totals $535,000 this year. Yet, Boca Jumps reports that the city indicated to them that the city has received only $275,000 this year from business license fees. That means, through some simple math, that the city is losing $260,000 this year on the Elgin business license. That doesn't include the administrative cost of processing these applications, just the cost or the revenue and the cost that the city has already paid out under these PSAs. This is all at a time when the city is running a deficit that has been variably reported as anywhere from $4 to $13 million. The taxpayers generally are on the hook for the loss under the business license program, $260,000 a year. While you're trying to close a budget deficit, you're losing that money and making the taxpayers generally pay for it. Even more abhorrent than the loss of money is the fact that under the purchase service agreement with the Chamber of Commerce, the city isn't assured it will get anything for what it's paying. Many of the duties and all of the deliverables are actually stricken out of the final draft of the agreement that was signed between the Chamber of Commerce and the city of Elgin. How do you possibly come to a conclusion as to whether or not they're doing what you hired them under the PSA to do if they have no deliverables? Again, you don't have to take my word for this. The documents are right here. I'll give them to you, and the documents don't lie. What also doesn't lie is the presence of a crowd here tonight. Elgin Octave does not stand alone. These residents and business people stand with us in demanding the repeal of the Elgin business license. The people present here today are joined in this call by 373 signatories to a petition demanding the elimination of the Elgin business license, of which I will present to the council immediately after my speech. Merely eliminating the funding of the purchase of service agreements is not acceptable. Elgin Octave is circulating a second petition demanding that no increase in taxes, that there be no increase in taxes on businesses. And we'll also present that to the council upon completion of our circulation. Businesses are not intangible. They're people. They're these people. Small businesses that employ most of the people in this community are people themselves. These taxes aren't just paid by some aberration. They're paid by real people. Eliminating the purchase of service agreement funding, but keeping the Elgin business license fees in place is still a tax, an unacceptable one that unfairly targets businesses that create jobs in this community. What this comes down to is businesses have had enough. They're drawing a line in the sand. They're saying this far and no further. Don't make us the soft target of closing the budget gap here in Elgin, particularly when you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars being paid out each year in overtime, and that wasn't even addressed by the Budget Task Force. As our representatives, you must heed our call. Repeal the Elgin business license now. Thank you.
Thank you. For clarification, the City Council voted and held a discussion on the business license a month or two ago. And the decision at that time was to call the Chamber and the Downtown Neighborhood Association back in to talk to the council after the first of the year, and we would reopen the discussion of the business license. And that's where the council stance is right now, and that's what we will intend to do, unless the council so chooses to amend that and change the timing. But that's the schedule for right now. We're in budget discussions, and we will plan on redoing this right after the first of the year. Dan Miller.